Alright, it's Henry again, and this is my review of the 1:100 scale Gundam Alex conversion kit for the Master Grade Gundam 1 Year War version. This was a conversion kit made by Vicious Project. This is a Super G recast of that conversion kit. And this is what it looks like, put together but unpainted. So as you can see, we're using the 1 Year War Gundam Master Grade inner frame, and most of the outer armor has been replaced with resin. I've got a little bit of plastic outer armor on the ankles, lower middle torso, and then a piece of blue on the back of the torso there. Beam sabers we're using from the Master Grade, but pretty much most of the outer armor is going to be replaced with resin. And it's got quite a few panel lines on it. It's really, really nicely detailed. So I think they did that so it could kind of match the Master Grade 1 Year War look. So anyway, as far as stuff you get with this kit, you're obviously going to get instructions. So that's what it's going to look like after it gets painted. My particular copy came with 2 color photos, front and back shot of the painted completed kit. Gonna get some water slide decals here, not very many. Basically a big Alex decal for the shield, and then some other Alex number 4 UNT Spacey EFSF decals for the armor. You get a shield. You will also get the machine gun. It's kind of falling apart on me. I haven't glued it together yet. I was going to do that after I painted it. Anyway, machine gun. There you go. You do get the Gatling guns for the arms. They're not going to open up like on the Master Grade Alex, but you will be able to do the Gatling gun gimmick via part swapping. You get some alternate parts for the 4 arms that'll be able to mount the shield. You get 2 alternate parts for the legs that are a little bit different than the ones that are actually on here. I'll show you those later. And you're going to get 2 closed fists, which you can see on there right now. You're going to get a trigger finger hand for the right hand. Again, I haven't assembled that yet. And then you're going to get 2 open hands. And of course, if you really wanted to, you could also use the plastic hands that came with the Master Grade 1 Year War Gundam. So, seeing as how this would be a pretty bland review if I just reviewed him like this without painting him, I'm going to stop here, get this guy painted up, and continue on from there. So here is the Alex, completely painted, panel-lined, decaled, and top-coated. As you can see, I went with the standard color scheme. Wanted to keep it relatively true to the original design, with the exception of, obviously, all these panel lines on them. But, to be honest, I didn't even use any of the water slide decals that came with the kit. I actually used some of the dry transfers that came with Master Grade Alex, the UNT Spacey, RX-78 NT-1 on the chest, EFSF, and then UNT Spacey RX-78 NT-1 on the backpack there. I actually used those from the Master Grade Alex, but and even these little triangles with number 4 on them, those are actually clear stickers. What I did is I just cut right along the edge of that triangle, so you really can't tell that it's a sticker. You really can't see any a raised surface at all, so I think that turned out pretty well. So, and then all the other caution markings and stuff on this guy are just water slides from leftover kits. And yeah, I actually really like the way it turned out. I think the blue could have turned out a little bit brighter. I think I made the darker base coat for the blue a little bit too dark, because my highlighting on the blue parts I did really bright. I actually used some fluorescent blue in there, but actually turned out a little bit darker than I wanted it to, but that's okay. It still looks halfway decent. Red, white, and yellow all turned out fine, I think. Let's see. The only real modification I did to the kit was the hands. As I said earlier, we get these fixed pose hands, but what I did is I took the Master Grade 1 Year War posable hands and I sanded down the back of the hand and then just used some ply plate to make this white backing, if my camera will focus on it. White backing there on the hand, and then just glued that on place after I painted it. So that way it looked more like a Alex hand rather than an RX-78 hand. And I actually really like the way that turned out. So actually I think these posable hands are... Usually I'm a fan of fixed pose hands because most of the time they look better, but I actually like these hands that come with it, specifically for the trigger finger hand. Like, the open hands look really, really nice, and the closed fists look really, really nice. But the trigger finger hands on the fixed pose hands weren't all that great. So that was my main reason for doing this with the posable 1 Year War hands. So anyway, this is the kit. I guess now we can go ahead and get into articulation. Articulation is going to be more or less the same as the 1 Year War Gundam. The head is going to be on a double ball joint. You got a ball joint at the base of the neck, which is going to give you, whoops, lost a beam saber, which is going to give you most of your movement up, down, side to side, 360 rotation. And then at the base of the neck there's another ball joint, which honestly barely moves at all. You're a little bit of side to side, a little bit of forward and back, pretty much no rotation at all. But the ball joint at the base of the head is going to give you plenty of rotation, so won't really have to worry about that there. Down inside the torso, you've got this shoulder joint that was on the 1 Year War Gundam that'll be able to move all the way up like so, and this beam saber is not wanting to stay in place. Stay in there. Anyway, so yeah, really good shoulder mobility on this kit, as anybody who's built a 1 Year War Gundam knows. Forward and back, 360 rotation obviously. The arms are going to be able to, well, they should be able to go out a full 90 degrees, but I'm kind of worried about scratching the paint, so I'm not going to do that, but still, you get the point. Arms can go out 90 degrees. 360 rotation below the shoulder, and then the elbows can bend a full 180 like so. And then the hands, as I just explained, you get fixed pose hands with the resin kit with a ball joint for the wrist. And then I just took these 1 Year War hands. They've got, again, ball joint for the wrist. You got that little hinge at the wrist as well that'll give you up and down movement. Ball joint thumb, and then each finger is on a ball joint. Originally these last 3 fingers are connected together, but I cut those apart, so now each finger is on a separate ball joint. I'll wait and show you this gimmick for the Gatling gun later when we get into the weapons and accessories part. Now onto the torso. You've got some movement at mid-torso. Seeing as how the 1 Year War Gundam does have a core fighter, you've got that in there. A little bit of side to side. Pretty good amount of forward and back. You're not going to get very much waist rotation. Only about that far to each side, just because of the skirt armor and the shape of the torso and all that. Skirt armor is front and back skirts are on ball joints, so they can go up and wiggle around and all that. Side skirts can go up about that far till they hit the torso. Back skirts as well, they can go pretty much all the way up. The hips are the only part of this kit that I'm actually a little bit worried about, not because they're not posable, but just because they're, the way they're designed. The hip joint is actually made out of resin. You have to just kind of glue it in there, so kind of worried about that glue coming loose, but we'll see. Anyway, legs can go up that far, and you've got that weird little joint on the 1 Year War Gundam that lets the whole hip assembly kind of move forward like so. But yeah, hips on ball joints. No rotation below the hip joint. Of course, being on a ball joint, you don't really need it, because you already kind of get that rotation from the ball. Alright, knee joints. can bend about that far. The upper knee joint is really, really tight. This armor is really squeezing on that knee joint. I actually sanded it down to kind of hopefully make some room, but it's still pretty tight. The lower part of the knee joint bends smooth and is just fine. The upper one's just really, really tight. Anyway, I can bend about that far. Obviously, this big bulky thruster on the back of the leg is going to prevent a 180-degree bend. And then for the ankles, they're on a standard ball joint, so they can go side to side, forward and back, and rotate just a little bit. You've actually got a little hydraulic connection down there. On the one-year War Gundam, this hydraulic was flipped around the other way. It was like up here, but on the Resin kit they have you flip it downward and they connect it to a ball joint down here, so you're able to do that. Ankle armor can go up and down, and originally the foot had a joint where it could, you know, bend up and down at mid-point of the foot, but it was so loose and it kept falling off, I just had to glue it in place. Otherwise it was just going to be falling off all the time. But that's not really too big of a deal because I plan on having my Alex flat on its feet anyway. So that is articulation. Now we can get into the weapons and accessories. Now, probably the most famous weapon from the Alex is the forearm-mounted Gatling guns. Those are the weapons that used to quickly disarm the camphor in War in the Pocket. And basically we're going to do this gimmick with part swapping. I pull this out, and what I've done is I've got a little metal pin down here, and it just plugs into a hole in there. And then we will simply take the Gatling gun bit, put that in place. It's also got a metal pin on it. See if I can get it to go down in there. There we go. And then plug this into there. And there we go. There is your Gatling gun gimmick. Simple as that. And with both Gatling guns deployed, you can actually make for some really, really impressive display opportunities. And the other weapon Alex comes with is the machine gun. Not actually used in the series, but it's always been a part of Alex nonetheless. This is where these posable one-year war hands come into play. I actually went ahead and molded it with the hole in the handle for the pegs. Actually, the fixed post trigger finger hand has a peg in it, just like the one-year war hands. And you put it in there. Honestly, you don't even really need the peg. He holds it just fine without it, as you can see. And there you go. Relatively simple weapon, doesn't have any moving parts, doesn't have any gimmicks, but just a nice, simple, good-looking machine gun. And of course, what would a Gundam be without a shield? Now, first I'm going to show you how we're going to mount the shield. What they've done is, rather than having a part that will actually clamp onto the arm, they just give us a whole separate blue part here with a shield mount molded onto it. And it's just going to swap out the same way like we did the Gatling gun gimmick. It's got a peg in there, and that will plug into place. Rotate this arm around. Then once we get that on there, we've got the actual shield, very, very similar to the master grade shield. A few more panel lines on it, lots of detail on the back. Got a little mount here that's got a poly cap inside it, and as you would imagine, it's simply going to fit onto this peg, like so, and there we go. There is your master grade shield. Master grade shield, Alex shield. And of course the last weapon is that Alex has two beam sabers. Take the machine gun away, and they just come out the backpack. These are actually the exact same beam sabers that you get with the one-year War Gundam, and using the exact same blades. So they've got a little hole in the handle, It'll fit nicely into the peg on the hand. And there you go. Now, one last thing I want to show you is the option parts for the legs we get here. We get two different versions for these side thrusters on the legs. And this one right here is a little bit bulkier, and this one is a little bit slimmer. As you can see, it's got kind of a nice smooth angle right there, whereas this one's thicker and has kind of a raised area on it. So there you can see the difference. Other than that, like the shape of the vents and the panel lines are all exactly the same. It's just that little angle is different. I don't know why they felt the need to give us these two different parts, but I guess it's nice to have the options. And before we go, I of course want to do a size comparison. And this is where you actually get to see one of the weird things about this kit is how tall it is. This is the standard Master Grade Alex, and you can see the Vicious Project Alex is quite a bit taller. He's actually almost like new Gundam height. So don't really know why they made him so tall. Not that it's necessarily a bad thing. If you want a bigger, more imposing Alex, I guess it would be a good thing. But if you want to keep things to scale, I guess it would be a bad thing. But anyway, obvious proportion differences and panel line differences, and then your obvious height difference there. So there it is next to the Master Grade Alex. So that about does it for my review of the Vicious Project 1/100 scale Gundam Alex conversion kit. And overall, I'm pretty happy with it. The sculpting and the panel lines and all that on this kit are great. It just has a very, very nice, different look on the traditional Alex. I think the details and panel lines they gave the kit actually do give it kind of a one-year war look, which I think is what they were going with, using the one-year war Gundam as a base. The decals that came with the kit, or at least the ones that came with my Super G recast, were okay. Again, no caution markings at all, just bare minimum Alex decals. You know, Alex for the shield, some NT-1 UNT Spacey decals. So all the caution markings you'll have to provide yourself. As far as Super G's job goes, this honestly isn't the best recast I've ever seen from Super G. I've gotten, I think, 3 or 4 kits from Super G, and most of them the casting quality has been really, really good, but the casting quality on this kit wasn't quite as good as the other ones. I had to do quite a bit of cleanup, and even then I probably didn't do as much cleanup as I should have. But still, overall, I think the kit turned out good. There weren't any serious casting quality issues, just a lot of little minor cleanup stuff. Let's see. The weapons and accessories they give us are pretty good. Simple, but still pretty good. Nothing really wrong with them. I actually kind of like the fact that we have the blue parts on the forearms swap out for the shield mount rather than having something that clips onto the arm. And overall, just I think it was a really well done kit. I don't really mind that the Gatling guns were part swapping. I mean, doing the actual for real Gatling guns inside the arms like the Master Grade, doing that in resin would be a huge pain in the butt, and they'd probably be breaking all over the place. So part swapping, I think, was definitely the best choice there. And then they give us these option parts for the sides of the legs, which I don't think I'm really ever going to use, but it's nice to have them anyway. So overall, a pretty darn good kit. If you like War in the Pocket, or Gundam Alex in particular, or one-year War Gundam, I say go ahead and try and pick it up. I don't think it's a very expensive conversion kit. As long as you get a recast, it shouldn't run you very much money at all. Probably about the same price as the Master Grade one-year War Gundam that you'll be buying to use it on. So that about does it for this review, and with that, I'll see you guys next time.